But whatever, this is me doing requests from 6 months ago. Hey folks, how you doing today? So I thought we'd do a transcription video today. Maybe we could look at the old YouTube comments, pick something that we like, and then, you know, we'll just transcribe it. Easy video. Before I go ahead and do this, I do want you all to know that you can go to my website, lessonswithmarcel.com. If you visit the tab store, scroll all the way to the bottom, and that's where you can order a transcription of anything you want. If you decide that you'd like to share the transcription with the world, as in to say, give me permission to make a YouTube video, that's what we call sponsoring a YouTube video around here. So you're welcome to do that. But we're not doing a sponsored post today. Today, we're just going to do one from the community. So here we go. Over here, I got the old YouTube comments up, good old hate comments. And here we go. This is exactly what I need. Hey Marcel, great video. Can you do a lesson on Tony Rice's break on big SKYPE hammer? Thanks. Also, Or Your Love Is Like a Flower, Bluegrass album band, Flattened Scruggs. It's got that Tony Rice lick in it. I don't know. I don't want to speak too soon, but what if we did both of those? That might be too much. Let's not commit to that idea, but know that it's in my brain. So I got the big SKYPE hammer already pulled up. It's right here, raring to go. Let's go ahead and let's find where the guitar break is really quick. I think I mentioned that I like to do this in another video, but I do like to write down the timestamp for the beginning of the break, and I set it down right here under my monitor, so whenever I need to sort of have a reference place for where the break is, I have the number right in front of me, because otherwise I'll forget and I'll go crazy. Yeah, so right, something like this, I can already make some guesses about how it goes, so maybe let's do that now. I got my transcribe screen up here. You know what it sounded like to me was one of these Tony Rice kickoffs that's kind of syncopated. Like I said, these are guesses, right? This isn't my best work. This is just so we get something on the page. This is a real classic transcribing trick where you just put something down and then you refine it as you go. It's exactly what I'm doing right here. And I heard the beginning of the break from Bluegrass Cabin Home. So I'm going to put in a double line to separate the kickoff from the actual start of the break. I'm also going to put in a key signature because if you read sheet music, you need notes in G major. And some of these, you know, I have opinions about what these accidentals should be, so I'll just change those. And now we can go back over to the YouTube video. So let's go to that. Here we are. You know, I always hit that settings wheel, and I always go back to playback speed, and let's lower it to half speed, and that'll make our transcription process way easier. Yeah, you know, there's one more note in the kickoff. Alright, cool. Now that I've played along to it a couple times, let's fix it. So there's one more note in this kickoff. So good guess, but not quite. It sounds like what goes on here is actually a little more interesting. Good guess on my part, but not exactly right. As I fill these in, you know, there's a certain amount of Tony Rice language that I just expect. You know, licks that I've seen over and over again, and I try to fill those in easily. You can see in the tab, I've just fixed the beaming as well. The beaming is how these eighth notes are connected. They're connecting up in groups of 2. Of course, I want groups of 4 because that's the standard. This measure is red because I haven't filled that in yet. There's one more eighth note that should go in there. These are all features that are standard with Guitar Pro 7. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I just recently made the switch from PowerTab. So if you're interested in transcribing software, I would check out PowerTab, which is free, or Guitar Pro 7, which is 60 or 70 bucks. A little pricier. Right, still just going in, filling in information. I don't know, something like that. So if you see any funky rhythms or accidentals, know that I go back and fix those. Alright, so that takes us from the G chord into our first E minor. So I'm going to open up this chord dialog. I know that you can't see this, but I'm just typing in a chord real quick, specifically a G chord. And then real quick, I'm going to type in an E minor chord. And then I can just drop those in, broad strokes. Similarly with everything else, sometimes I miss chord changes, so if I'm not entering them, I go back. I enter all those things in later if I miss them on the first draft. It's almost like you can hear him playing a couple chord tones after that, maybe something like this. Boom, boom, boom. Let's try that break again. Sounds like walking into a C chord. So right, I had these notes wrong. I love making those mistakes and then fixing them a second later. Just helps you work so much faster, and it's such an honest way to train your ear, guessing what it was, even when you didn't get a great chance to hear it. His guitar is a little buried in the track. It's not as bad as it has been in other things. I'm trying to remember an example of the guitar being super buried in the track, but I can't think of anything. I feel like I remember in some videos saying things like, hey, you can't really hear his guitar right here, but he does something like this. I don't know, it's kind of inconsequential moments when that happens. This is what separates the good transcriptions from the bad transcriptions for me. You know, how well all of these rhythms are counted. And, you know, a weird moment like that where you either have to put in an 8th note rest or you have to tie it to another 8th note, or however you want to interpret that timing. It makes a difference if you nail those kind of moments. Definitely a little guess right there how well I was being played, but that's okay. Really, if we had to talk about this stuff, we can look at this. Yeah, that's right. Try to play a Tony Rice break and sing the melody along to along to Tony's break. That's a tough task. Can't you hear the whistle? Can't you hear the whistle of my big spike hammer? Oh Lord, it's busting my side. I've done all I can do. Alright, that's the hardest thing I've ever done on this channel. Man. Okay, so it sounds like Tony just plays this entire, I don't know, like that much or so. He just plays it again. Let's play the whole break up to this point. Let's not cheat. Maybe let's try it at 75%. Okay, so let's start the sort of the second half when he lands back on a G chord right here. And look, I'll even pop in that G chord. All right, so I'm gonna do what I like to call a tiny boy. Some kind of grace note, some kind of pickup. No, it's a tiny boy. I gotta hear it again to hear when he's hammering on pulling off. There's a pull off that leads into the next measure, where we're over the C chord, I guess. So right, as it changes to the C chord, we just saw something really telling go down. So there's lots of things that are worth talking about, like always. Let's go through the break really quick up to this point. I mean, this is a classic Tony Rice phrase. So he's using a line cliche to connect the 3rd to the 5th. So right, we have the third, the fourth, the flat fifth, and then the fifth. It's a really cool chromatic movement that we see all over the place, over all kinds of chords. And then he's using a bunch of minor pentatonic stuff, G minor. Over the E minor chord, he's using a lot of E minor pentatonic or G major pentatonic, depending on how you want to look at that. He's also using a bunch of chord tones to really clarify that he's playing over an E minor chord, not a G chord. Over the C chord, every time a C chord has come up, we're seeing this, you know, what we like to call Lester flat G run. Of course, we're seeing it over a C chord though. One of these. And that's more or less what we have in the tab here. Of course, there's another open G string like I just played, but that's fine. As we continue, right, we can see the same thing. E minor pentatonic. G, look, we're seeing our line cliche. We're seeing the G minor pentatonic. We're seeing the E minor pentatonic or G major pentatonic over the E minor chord, right? With a lot of chord tones, a lot of emphasis put on these E notes to say we're in E minor. Then over the C chord, look, I thought something different was going to happen, but no, look, we got the same, you know, bluegrass cliche, the Lester flat G run right there. It's kind of obscured. It starts on an offbeat, doesn't start with a quarter note, right? It crosses a bar line. Lots of different ways to make it seem a little less obvious, but that's what it is. So right, there's a really clear way that you can see Tony's thinking about this entire break. Every single step of the way has been set up in this very casual way. All right, let's finish this thing and let's see if everything I just predicted is true. So there's the whole thing. We wrote it out. I'm gonna take it, I think I'm gonna put it up at 75%, and let's see how many tries it takes me to just play this break at 75% speed, just for fun. Alright, so we did great. I just saved that. So right, it's not gone forever. I'll put that up for free on the website. Just go to lessonswithmarcel.com, hit the tab store, you're all good to go. Kind of want to do this Your Love is Like a Flower break. I don't really have time to do it. I have to teach. But whatever, this is me doing requests from 6 months ago. If you have other requests, just leave them down below. Just leave them in the comments and I'll get to them. Anyway, this has been super fun. If you liked watching me transcribe this, like I said, please leave more suggestions for other transcriptions that you'd like to see. If you'd like to support this channel in some way, just go to my website, lessonswithmarcel.com. We've got a bunch of articles you can read. Of course, we have the tab store. Almost all the tabs are free. That's where you can get all the tabs from the YouTube videos. There are a lot of arrangements of fiddle tunes that I do sell there. If you want to support me, you can purchase those. There's also the merch there. You can get t-shirts like this one, although not as beat up as this one. This one's really been through the ringer. And lastly, of course, you can sign up for Skype lessons. I really appreciate all the people who sign up for Skype lessons. Can't believe there's a waiting list for some slots. But yes, my Skype lesson crew is amazing, and if you want to join that team, you can. Until then, I guess I'll see y'all in a week for another bluegrass guitar video. By that crossing sign, we'll talk about tonight. And the same train took the life of that old beggar boy and the bootlegger's wife.